Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hot Action Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kerr, and today we are going to review what happened last week in the NFL, and we are going to go over our picks against the spread for every game this week, Week 10 of the NFL. We are going to go over our best 5 bets and our lock of the week. Our lock of the week has been doing so poorly thus far that we cannot consider it a lock. It is our strong suggestion of the week, and you might as well fade it. It's going so badly. I've stopped keeping track of the results. Things I have kept track of the results on, I am 75 and 63 against the spread. Not bad. And last week I didn't get best bets in because I was out of town. I did manage to get some in my separate pool where I do best bets, but unfortunately they didn't align with the picks I made for my pick'em contest, so I'm not going to use them. But thus far, over 8 weeks, we are 24 and out of 40, which is pretty positive, I would say. So if you've been listening to me, you've been making money. Last week, unfortunately, we went 7 and 8. A rare occurrence. We did not go positive in the picks, and this is why. We started on Thursday with Houston at the Jets. We took the Jets minus 1.5 points, and we were right. I believed that the reason to pick the Jets was that the public was all over Houston, and for some reason this line felt odd to me, so I just took the home team, and it worked out. Jets win 13-21. First win since our boy Robert Saleh has been fired. Maybe the Jets are getting back on the right track. We'll see. Something to monitor. Houston might be flailing a bit, considering they should be able to beat this Jets team, I think. But they're really banged up. So again, another thing to monitor going forward. Then Sunday morning we had Washington at the Giants. We took Washington minus 3.5 points, and they win by 5. Closer than I would have imagined. Unable to watch a lot of these games because I was traveling, but good news for your boy. Then we had Chargers at Cleveland. We took Cleveland plus 1.5. That didn't work. Chargers smoked them pretty good, 27-10. And then we had Miami at Buffalo. We took Buffalo minus 6.5. I was like, Buffalo's gonna swag all over these fools. This ain't gonna be nothing. But it took a last-minute field goal for Buffalo to take the lead. They were not covering for much of the game. They won, but did not cover. Miami gets that one. That's another L for your boy. Then we had Dallas at Atlanta. We took Atlanta minus 2.5. Atlanta wins this game 27-21, and Dak Prescott leaves injured, and he will be replaced by Cooper Rush going forward, I think. He's on the IR, so he's not back for a while. If Dallas can stay in the hunt, I don't know that we're likely to see much of Dak left this year unless they can make the playoffs without him, which is going to be a tough ask considering how good Washington is playing. And, of course, the Eagles. Then we have New England and Tennessee. I took Tennessee minus 3.5 at home. And, of course, they win by 3 in overtime. So that's an L. New England picks up that win. 17-20. Tennessee lose. Tough to lose by the hook, but that's how she goes. Then we got Las Vegas at Cincinnati. I took the points here. Las Vegas got 7.5, but they would lose by 17. So that's too many. Cincinnati, continue being, scrappy, trying to fight to stay alive in the playoff chase. So, there they go. And should have known this Las Vegas team is, really bad. And I don't know if they can do much to change it going forward. That's all we need to say about that game. So then we have Denver at Baltimore. We took the points again. We took 9.5 points. And, of course, Denver would lose by 31. There's some games where Denver's defense and running game cannot overcome how badly the quarterback can play sometimes. And, this was one of those games. Baltimore absolutely smokes them 10-41. And then we had Chicago at Arizona. We took Arizona minus a half point. because we like them at home. I feel like they're kind of getting their stuff together in terms of their offense looks pretty good with Kyler. And yeah, that worked. Chicago only scores 9 points. Arizona scores 29. That's a dub. We're in Jacksonville at Philadelphia. I watched this game on a plane, strangely. And I watched it without the sound. I was kind of like raw dogging it in a sense. I was just sitting there locked in, watching this game sound free on a plane. And yeah, I took Philadelphia minus 7.5, and I was so upset at Nick Sirianni's decision making, not going for it so many times when he didn't need to, not kicking field goals, and I also am upset with the NFL allowing what was clearly a down by contact to turn into a fumble 6 for our guy Saquon, who was playing out of his mind. Saquon Barkley is the reason this game was a win for Philadelphia. That dude is unbelievable. He did a backwards booty cheek hurdle over a tackler. It was crazy, and he just like went off. So it was upsetting to see that Philadelphia couldn't make that into a cover because of a combination of bad decision making and NFL conspiring to screw the cover. That being said, they won the game, and they'll take the dub. But I lost, and I really feel like this is the one where I deserved to win, but the NFL flipped that one on me. And then here, one where I was quite wrong. I took Green Bay plus 3.5 at home over Detroit. Detroit wins 24-14 on the road, and I think takes a pretty solid lead in the division. So that's pretty sweet for them. Detroit's looking very good, 7-1. All right, and then we had the Rams at Seattle, and unusual for me, I pick a dub betting for against Seattle. I bet on the Rams minus 1.5. This game would go to overtime. Our guy Gene Parmesan was throwing the ball all over the yard. So many receptions, but unfortunately, I believe 3 of them were to the wrong team. This game could have been a Seattle domination if he had just, not made a few boneheaded errors there. I don't know. Like, these games are always so weird. They came down to the end, and Seattle made a strange 4th down decision by my standards. They ran it up the middle behind our extremely bad O-line, got stuffed, and then the Rams went down the field, scored a touchdown, win by 6. Tough L. And Sunday Night Football, another game I managed to watch on the plane. We took Indianapolis plus 5.5 over Minnesota. I thought Indianapolis could make this interesting, could cover it, but man, watching that offense is diabolical. Flack magic or otherwise, this team is hard to watch, and Minnesota was making him look bad. I don't know what to say. This game in the end wasn't that far from being a cover, but it didn't feel like it, man. They got beat down. And that's it. Moving on, Sunday Night Football. We took Tampa Bay plus 8.5. And there was very little of this game when Tampa was not covering. I believe they took an early lead and kind of held on to it until they eventually succumbed in overtime. Exciting game, back and forth, but in terms of the 8.5 point cover, good call by your boy. If you watched my video last week, I said the Chiefs would win, but they would not cover, and that is exactly correct. That was exactly correct. So, moving on to Week 10. Here we go. We start the week with Cincinnati at Baltimore, and this is what we call one of the rule games. If it is a divisional game in primetime, we take the points. It doesn't matter what we think of the teams, who's hot, who's not. Divisional game in primetime, you take the points. And there's a lot of points here. 6.5 seems like a lot for a divisional game. Cincinnati's 4-5. They are not a slouch. They put up 41 points last week against the Raiders, who beat Baltimore. So, I'm not too upset about it. Then, Sunday morning, we got the Giants at Carolina. except Carolina's in Munich. It's the super early 6:30 a.m. start. Now, both these teams are pretty diabolical. I tend to think if this game was actually in Carolina, I might take the 4.5 points, but because it's in Munich, I will be taking the Giants. I feel like the Giants should win this game. I feel like the points might be the deciding factor here, but I feel like the Giants really want to have a get-right game at some point. Carolina probably, wants the first overall pick if they can get it. I don't know. I just think that there might be a scenario where the Giants pass rush makes Bryce a bit uncomfortable, and hopefully the Giants can just air it out to Malik Neighbors a million times and win this game. So here's hoping. Fingers crossed. We're taking the Giants. Up next, we got San Francisco at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's getting 5.5 points at home, and because San Francisco has not blown the doors off anybody yet this year, we're taking Tampa. Tampa plus 5.5. San Francisco, they might figure it out over the second half of the season here, but until they do, I'm not going to treat them like they should be 5.5 point favorites on the road against a team that is relatively decent, a team that covered against the Chiefs last week. Yeah, simple enough. Fading San Fran until they prove me wrong, or something like that. I just the problem with Tampa is they're missing a lot of their skill position players, but they made it work last week without them, so we'll see if that can continue. All right, Atlanta and New Orleans. We're taking Atlanta minus 3.5. New Orleans, can't bet on them. They are too banged up. They are past their best buy date. They have had to rebuild for years. They didn't. Now they've got nobody. Yeah, I think Atlanta's going to smoke them. Moving on. Divisional game. Denver at Kansas City. Kansas City's given up 8.5 points. I think Denver is going to be able to slow down this Kansas City passing attack enough that Kansas City will again win, but not cover 8.5 points. They are not running up the score on just about anybody. Denver has a decent running attack. This game is going to be fast, I imagine. Denver can run the ball a bit. Kansas City isn't going to want to air it out. So, yeah, I think it'll be something like, 20-16 for Kansas City. That means Denver covers. Moving on. We got Buffalo at Indy. Indy's getting 4.5 points at home. I think Buffalo's good. 4.5 is not enough. I might take Indy if it was 6.5, but 4.5, we're taking Buffalo. I think Buffalo win and they win big. That's not going to be enough for me. Yeah. All right. And Pittsburgh at Washington. Pittsburgh's getting 2.5 points on the road. I think Pittsburgh's going to win outright. We're taking Pittsburgh plus the points. No problem there. All right. Then we got Minnesota at Jacksonville. Jacksonville's getting 4.5 points at home. Easy money. We're taking Minnesota minus 4.5. Seems like we're taking a lot of away teams so far. Not a great way to make money, but pretty sure this is going to work out. All right. Then we have New England at Chicago. New England's getting 6.5 points on the road. We're taking Chicago. New England's been incredibly inconsistent. They tangled in there with Tennessee last week. But yeah, I think Chicago is going to find a way to move the ball in New England. We need Caleb Williams to stay competitive here for my other bets. And yeah, it's dragging me towards taking this home Chicago team. All right, moving on. We got Tennessee at the Chargers. We got Tennessee is getting 7.5 points on the road. I think the Chargers are a tough out. They really beat bad teams quite badly, it seems like. And I think Tennessee is a bad team. Whether or not they are being quarterbacked by their starter or their backup, it doesn't bother me too much picking the Chargers either way. I think Chargers D is stout, and they're going to try to grind out wins. 7.5 might be a lot, but it's a risk we're going to have to take to avoid betting on Tennessee. All right, and then we got Philadelphia on the road at Dallas. We got Cooper Rush, I believe, quarterbacking the Dallas Cowboys. Getting 7.5 points at home is a lot. It's a divisional game. It would be, it's been tough betting on Philadelphia with large spreads. They're winning a lot, but they're not smoking too many teams, and not beating the Jags last week with a cover was really rough. So I'm hoping they learn from their mistakes and cover this one. But who knows? We're betting on Philadelphia. We're gonna hold our nose and bet on the Bird Boys. All right, and then we got the Jets at Arizona. Last week we bet on Arizona with an extra half point at home. This week we're betting on Arizona minus a half point at home. I think the Jets, they have to travel across the country, and they are not super consistent. That I'll tell you that much. And stopping Kyler from doing his thing has been a tough ask all year. So we're going to see if we can just rely on that. Then we got Detroit at Houston on Sunday Night Football. Detroit is laying 3.5 points on the road, and that's who we're taking. Detroit has been beating just about everybody. Houston lost to the Jets last week, who I don't believe are very good. Houston's really banged up, and Detroit is relatively healthy. That could go the wrong way for me. I wouldn't be super surprised. Houston is a good team on their day, but I'm just going to take Detroit because so far so good in terms of betting on them. And then on Monday night, we got Miami at the Rams. I haven't liked anything I've seen out of Miami all year. I'm taking the Rams minus 2.5. Beating McVay at home when you're not a well-organized team is very difficult. The Rams seem to be getting their poop together. And, I don't know. That seems to be one of those lines where it's almost confusing to me that it's so low. We are going to put in 44 as our tiebreak number. Hit submit. Those are the weekly bets. In terms of best bets, this week we are going Rams, because that seems weird to me. Detroit, because they're winners. Denver, because they're getting a lot of points. Atlanta, because who ain't beating New Orleans? And Buffalo, because Indy is diabolical. They're hard to watch. I don't believe that there's anything left to say. My lock of the week, which is a totally fadeable pick, is that we are picking the Chargers to beat Tennessee. Money line, straight up. Let's see if I can lose another one. And that's it for me for this week. I'm glad to be back with full-length videos for the Hot Action Podcast. Last week was unfortunate. I don't like it when I can't get in my best bets. That was a goofy mistake, and I was punished for it because in the contest that I regularly play in, I got 4 out of 5. So my average would be brought up by a week like that on the show, but I didn't prove it. I can't put it in. So we're going to abbreviate the results this week. I can only prove what I put on video. That's kind of the point of the whole podcast, and I must be punished when I cannot when I can't prove my own worth. All right, so that's it. This has been Hot Action Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Kerr, saying peace. See you next week.